Assalamu alaikum. My name is Lina Masri. I'm the CARE National Litigation Director and General Counsel. I just flew back in from a almost week-long visit to CARE Georgia. I flew out there with one of our national staff attorneys, Kim, after we received an emergency call from the legal director at CARE Georgia. They were calling on behalf of one of the Muslim detainees at DeKalb County Jail that had reached out because he had not been given pretty much almost any food throughout the entirety of this Ramadan. On average, he was receiving on most days probably around 300 to 700 calories, 700 if he's lucky. There was probably, just a handful of instances, 3 or 4 instances where he might have gotten up to 1,500 calories. This is starvation. He was in absolute starvation mode. But what made this case even more egregious is that he hasn't gotten more than 1,500 calories since September 1st of last year. By the time it hit December, he had already lost 15 pounds. Ramadan simply exacerbated the situation. We flew out there immediately Thursday night, and from Thursday night till the time we filed the lawsuit and emergency motion on Monday morning, myself, Kim, the CARE Georgia attorneys, and others on our legal team, we probably spent several hundred hours to get a lawsuit put together and an emergency motion filed to make sure that he's getting food. And alhamdulillah, I'm happy to update you all that the county sheriff has stipulated to an agreement of several terms where they are now providing not only Norman Simmons, who is the detainee that reached out to us, but all of the Muslims at the jail adequate calories, 2,600 minimum calories, which is the amount that they should have been getting in the first place. They are now getting their suhoor meals, their iftar meals on time, which was part of what led to the problem in the first place. The situation at the facility was very dire. He was essentially the de facto imam, and he had reached out to us on behalf of the rest of the Muslim detainees at the facility. They had essentially signed up for a halal meal diet. The halal meal is actually a kosher meal, is prepackaged. It does contain the minimum calories that are required for proper caloric intake that's required for them. If they had gotten their halal meal diet approved, then they would have been getting the adequate calories that they needed. The other issue that was going on in this case is that the facility was not bringing the meals on time. So at suhoor time, if the meals came after Fajr, they would not be able to eat the suhoor meal. That's 600 calories on its own. If the meal came, for iftar time, they would get it probably 3 hours late. And because they were not permitted to have access to even a clock or a watch, not even a clock to be hung up high on the walls of the facility where nobody could reach it, they wouldn't even know if they had a bag of chips that they could eat that bag of chips if they had it with them in the cell, because they didn't know what time it was. They would have to wait until they're let out of lockdown, which was 16 hours a day. And they would have to run to a kiosk all the way at the other side of the housing unit to see if it's even time, if they're able to eat, if it's suhoor, whether they missed the meal and they would have to go for another day without a meal. It was honestly, I can't even explain to you how devastating it was for me to even meet with him. Just looking at him, he looked like he could not even hold his body up straight from the very certain health impact that he's been suffering. My big concern right now is potential organ failure because of the extended amount of time that he has gone with barely anything to eat. The amount of food that he was being given essentially equates to torture. In another place, it would have absolutely constituted torture. I believe it's torture at this instance as well. We thank the sheriff for taking the right steps in accommodating their requests. However, it really should not have taken us an emergency lawsuit to get them to make the right decision, to give them the bare minimum amount that they need to sustain themselves. We are, inshallah, hopeful that this issue is going to be resolved permanently. The one issue that they did not agree to is the clock issue. They are opposing a clock being hung. All we asked for was a clock to be hung in each housing unit that's visible by all of the cells so that they could see what time it is. They don't, they're not even able to make their prayers. They have to guess as to the times of the day just to even make their prayers inside the cells. They are refusing to accommodate such a simple request. There are clocks hung in facilities around the entire country. This facility, we are going to litigate this issue. This is a serious issue that is interfering with their ability to practice their faith in terms of prayer, in terms of fasting. So that issue will keep moving forward. But that is the update right now. I do want to emphasize the concern that I have that really this is probably the most predictable common complaint that we get during Ramadan every year across the country. We've litigated these cases across the country. Right now, at this time, we have several other cases that are similar to this one that have come out of other states. We are working with those facilities to try to accommodate those requests. Inshallah, they will be resolved. In some instances where there is a concern of severe retaliation, if we had reached out to the facility, such as in this instance, where violence has already been done by guards towards our client in relation to this issue, when he raised a concern, his hand was smashed in a metal door when he was asking for the name of a guard so that he could file a complaint. There are instances where we don't have an option but to file an emergency lawsuit. For the others, we're hopeful that we'll get those cases resolved. Please keep us in your du'as. I also want to recognize that CARE Georgia played an integral role in this case. We could not have done this without them. Jazakum Allah khair. Please keep us in your du'as. Thank you.